Hi, I'm Big Bear Mark, and welcome to the Bear Cave. Today with me, I've got my good friends Nick Laws and Steve Scalone. Hi guys, how you going?
Hello,
Yeah, good.
doing good.
Good. We're talking about relationships again within the bear community, and something I think is actually quite prevalent in the bear community is what I like to call mind the gap. It's age gaps or age disparity within relationships. Now, Steve, we've been talking today. You're in a relationship where there's a 10-year disparity, and your partner's 10 years older than you.
Yes.
And I'm in a relationship which is I'm 15 years older than my partner. And Nick, you're single.
Yes.
So we'll get to you in a second. But especially within the bear community, I actually find this quite a common phenomenon, and much more so. And even I've done a little bit of research, and even the Australian Bureau of Statistics actually say that gay male partners tend to have a higher age disparity than straight people and lesbians as well.
Is that right?
That is correct. So,
Is there a reason that you think?
well, I think there is,
interesting.
especially within the bear community, I think it is that very nurturing, older, probably more experienced guy who likes to nurture a younger guy. And is it like a younger guy who maybe wants to have someone with experience? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, personally, I can only speak for personal experience. I'm attracted to older guys, naturally anyway. That's just kind of how I'm wired. And what happened in our situation, we'll be together, I think, coming up to 6 years. Basically what happened in our relationship, or at the start of it, was we were both mutually attracted, and then we just found out that we were actually really cool to be together with. Age just didn't really come into it. You know what I mean? It was not.
I do, because my partner and I had the same thing. I mean, I've had both sides of the coin. I actually did have a partner who was 10 years older than me.
Ah, cool.
And that was when I was a bit younger. And now that I'm a bit older, I have the reverse. So it's a bit like of course, with my current partner, there was definitely an attraction.
Yeah.
He likes older guys too. But do you find that there's any differences that with that age gap? Is there things that you don't connect on?
Music seems to be a strong one.
Yep.
But apart from that, not really. No, because interests would vary anyway, whether you're 5 years age gap difference or 20 years. So personal interests like hobbies and your occupation and things like that will always vary. But yeah, I guess growing up in a slightly different generation, 10 years isn't quite that, but growing up in he was more or less a teenager in the 80s, where I was kind of almost preteen, sort of. So he was kind of out and about, starting to enjoy himself while I was still at school and things like that.
And I think I find the same things. Music is a big one, because he's into heavy metal and I can't stand heavy metal. And things like, but there are certain things that I go, how could you not know about something that happened in the 80s? And he's like, well, I was only born in the 80s.
Fair call.
Awkward.
Oh. Yeah, exactly.
Great way to make you feel old.
Now, Nick, being on the market, as it were.
Yes, available. It's just like, yes, well and truly.
Would an age gap worry you if you were looking at a potential partner?
Strangely enough, it did actually happen to me a little while back, just recently. It's just like I had someone who was only 20 years old that was interested in me from a sort of like, I don't know what, from sort of perspective, or just like older men. I knew that already, but it would sort of like develop an interest. And unfortunately, I had to sort of let him down on that because I sort of felt it was probably not fair on him to be going into a relationship so early on in his life, when he should be sort of like doing other things like, sort of say like going around Europe or travelling Europe, doing here, going there and all that sort of thing. There's a lot to experience before I think you settle down into a relationship. So yeah, it's one of those things that I'd be sort of aware of. So if I was looking again to sort of like settle down into a relationship, it would probably have to be with someone reasonably similar sort of age, sort of 10 years either side, I suppose, on a personal preference, you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, just experiencing that sort of similarities, I suppose. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you still need to have that mutual maturity there too. Like, God knows I wasn't mature in my early 20s. So, you know, to expect kind of the same thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
One thing I've come across in looking up about this subject is the fears that can be associated with an age gap in relationships. And I think you probably touched on a little bit what you're saying, Nick. But things like for the older person, it can be the fear of the younger person leaving them because they're looking for someone younger. And for the younger person, it can also be the fear of the older person not feeling that they're young enough, almost even as well. Do you have any fears? I don't want to get too personal.
Yeah,
but, you know,
no.
Have you ever thought about anything like that?
No, not at all. If anything, I jokingly hound my partner saying that he's old sometimes. So he retaliates by saying a whole string of other little things, which I can't mention. Yeah, but no, I think that would, I guess, once again comes with a little bit of self-esteem and things like that too. So yeah, no, that hasn't come up or hasn't been an issue with me personally, but I can see how it could be, most definitely.
Nick, did you have, when you were in this potential relationship with a younger guy, were any of those fears real for you?
I don't think it's a fear. I think it's probably more of just a reality sort of thing. I think for me it was more of a fairness. It wasn't a fear. It was a fairness for him because I didn't even see it as selfish on my part to do it, but just for his sake and knowing it's just like in my 20s, it's just like, you know, you goof around and you do all sorts of different things. You know what I mean? It's just you need to have that life experience. I think it's a right to have that life experience, and to be sort of like in a sort of like relationship that early on, without doing that sort of thing. I think it's not fair, is what it comes down to. But it's not fear at all. It's a fairness thing. I think, you know.
It's a fairness thing. Well, it's a subject that we could talk days about, but we're not going to. This is Big Bear Mark, and I want to thank my guests today, Steve and Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you for
And this has been the Bear Cave. Thanks very much.